Henry Grayson was a man who believed in earning everything with hard work. At 72, his hair was a soft white, his hands bore the marks of decades of labor, and his blue eyes still shone with a quiet determination. Henry had spent most of his life in a small rural town, where he had run a modest auto repair shop for 40 years. It was a place where people trusted him because Henry never cut corners. After retiring, Henry lived a quiet life in his little house on the edge of town. He wasn't wealthy, but he was content. However, his old pickup truck, a trusty companion for 15 years, had finally started to give up on him. It was time to find a replacement. Henry didn't want anything fancy, just something reliable to get him to the grocery store, church, and the occasional visit to his grandchildren. That morning, Henry put on his favorite red Make America Great Again hat. It wasn't just a political statement for him. It was a reminder of values he held dear: hard work, honesty, and love for his country. With a calm resolve, Henry drove his sputtering truck to a well-known dealership in the city. When Henry arrived at the dealership, it was buzzing with activity. Salespeople, all dressed in crisp suits, moved quickly between gleaming cars and potential buyers. As Henry stepped out of his truck, the contrast was stark. His old vehicle, rusted and worn, looked out of place among the shiny SUVs and sports cars. Henry walked into the showroom, where Ethan Miller, a young and overly confident salesman, noticed him immediately. Ethan was in his early 30s, with slicked back hair and an air of arrogance that came with his position as one of the top salespeople at the dealership. He nudged his colleague, Jake Turner, and whispered, "Check out the guy in the hat. Looks like he wandered into the wrong place." Jake chuckled. "What's he doing here? That hat screams trouble. Bet he can't afford the tires on these cars." Henry approached them, his voice calm but firm. "Good morning, gentlemen. I'm looking for a reliable truck. Can you help me?" Ethan gave him a once-over, his smile thin and insincere. "Of course, sir. But, are you sure you're ready to buy today? Trucks can be expensive." Henry didn't miss the condescension in Ethan's tone, but he kept his patience. "I'm ready to buy if I find something that fits my needs," he said. Ethan led Henry to the back of the lot, showing him the oldest and cheapest vehicles. He didn't bother to hide his disinterest, occasionally checking his phone while Henry asked questions about the trucks. Jake hung back, making sarcastic comments to another colleague. As Henry examined one of the trucks, a tall man in a leather jacket walked into the lot. He looked to be in his late 40s, with a sharp gaze and a confident stride. His name was Daniel Carter, and though no one at the dealership recognized him, he seemed to be observing everything with great interest. Daniel approached Henry, offering a warm smile. "Looking for a truck?" he asked. Henry nodded. "Something reliable, nothing fancy." Daniel glanced at Ethan and Jake, who were now watching the exchange with mild annoyance. "I'll be honest, sir," Daniel said quietly. "You might not get the best service here, but don't let that discourage you." Henry thanked him and continued his search, but Daniel didn't leave. Instead, he walked into the showroom and spoke briefly with the manager. The staff seemed confused but respectful. Later that day, Henry decided to take a break and grab a cup of coffee from a nearby cafe. As he sat by the window, sipping his drink, he noticed Ethan and Jake walking in. They hadn't seen him yet and were loudly chatting about their most annoying customer of the day. "You mean the old guy in the MAGA hat?" Jake asked, laughing. "I can't believe he thought he could buy a truck here. Did you see his face when I told him he should try a used car lot downtown?" Ethan smirked. "Yeah, but I let him waste his time looking. Hey, who knows? Maybe he'll sell that rusty old pickup for scrap and come back." Henry clenched his coffee cup tightly, but he didn't confront them. Instead, he finished his drink quietly and left the cafe, determined to handle the situation in his own way. The next morning, the dealership staff gathered for their usual meeting. Their manager, Mr. Harris, walked in with a serious expression. Behind him was Daniel Carter, the mysterious man from the lot. The room fell silent as Mr. Harris cleared his throat. "Ladies and gentlemen, I have an announcement to make," he began. "Effective immediately, this dealership has a new owner. Please welcome Mr. Henry Grayson." The room erupted in shocked whispers. Ethan and Jake froze, their faces pale as Henry walked into the room, still wearing his red hat, but now accompanied by a calm confidence. Daniel stepped forward, smiling. "I'm Henry's partner in this venture. When I met him yesterday, I realized he was exactly the kind of person who could bring integrity back to this business. So we made it happen." Henry looked around the room, his voice steady and deliberate. "Yesterday, I came here as a customer. I wanted to see how people are treated when they don't look like they have money to spend. What I saw was disappointing." He turned his gaze to Ethan and Jake. "Respect isn't something you show only when you think someone can do something for you. It's something you show to everyone." Under Henry's leadership, the dealership underwent major changes. Ethan and Jake were given strict ultimatums. Either they could learn humility and respect or find work elsewhere. Daniel stayed on as a silent partner, helping Henry rebuild the dealership's reputation. As time passed, Henry's leadership continued to reshape the dealership. He didn't just focus on selling cars, he focused on building relationships. Customers weren't treated like numbers or wallets, but like neighbors and friends. Henry had a gift for listening to people's needs and finding solutions that worked for them. Word spread quickly, and soon, the dealership became the most trusted in the region. Ethan and Jake, humbled by their mistakes, made genuine efforts to improve. At first, their apologies seemed rehearsed, but Henry gave them a chance to prove themselves. He didn't believe in holding grudges. "Everyone deserves an opportunity to grow," he told them. "The question is whether you're willing to take it." Ethan started volunteering to help elderly customers who came to the lot, offering to drive them home after their purchases or explain features in their new cars. Jake took it upon himself to mentor younger employees, sharing his hard-learned lessons about respect and humility. One day, Henry was in his small office when Ethan knocked on the door. His face was sincere, his usual arrogance replaced with something softer. "Mr. Grayson," he began, "I just wanted to say thank you. I know I didn't deserve your kindness after the way I treated you, but because of you, I've changed. I hope to make you proud." Henry looked at him with a small smile. "You've done that already, son. Keep going." As Henry's reputation grew, so did his sense of fulfillment. But time, as it does, began to catch up with him. One quiet evening, Henry sat at home looking through old photographs of his family, his repair shop, and the life he'd built. He thought of his late wife, Margaret, and how proud she'd be of what he'd accomplished. His grandchildren often visited, and they loved hearing his stories about how he'd turned the dealership into a beacon of hope and fairness. A few months later, Henry fell ill. It wasn't sudden, but it was serious. The doctors told him he had limited time, and he needed to rest. For Henry, the idea of slowing down was foreign, but he accepted it with the same grace he had shown throughout his life. As news of his illness spread, the community rallied around him. Customers, employees, and even competitors came by to visit or send him heartfelt messages. Ethan and Jake, now transformed men, took over the daily operations of the dealership, ensuring Henry's vision continued. One morning, Daniel Carter, his business partner, sat by Henry's bedside. "You've done something incredible here, Henry," he said. "This place isn't just a dealership anymore. It's a symbol of fairness and second chances. That's all because of you." Henry smiled weakly. "It's not about me, Daniel. It's about the people. Treat them right, and they'll do right by you. That's all I ever wanted." A few weeks later, Henry passed away peacefully, surrounded by family and friends. His funeral was a testament to the lives he had touched. Hundreds of people attended, from customers who had bought their first cars from him to employees who had learned the value of respect under his guidance. After the service, Daniel called a meeting at the dealership. He had a special announcement to make. "Before Henry passed, he left me with one last request," Daniel began, his voice thick with emotion. He wanted this dealership to continue standing for the values he believed in, and he wanted to ensure that everyone who worked here or shopped here would always feel respected and valued. Daniel revealed that Henry had set up a fund to help underprivileged families afford reliable transportation. The dealership would continue to offer special programs for veterans, single parents, and elderly customers. It was Henry's way of giving back, even after he was gone. The dealership thrived under its new leadership, but Henry's presence was felt in every corner. A plaque hung in the lobby with his favorite saying engraved on it: "Respect is earned through kindness, trust is built through honesty, and success comes from serving others." The story of Henry Grayson and his red hat became more than just a tale about an old man who bought a dealership. It became a reminder that everyone deserves a chance to be treated with dignity, no matter their age, appearance, or beliefs. Ethan and Jake, now respected leaders in the business, often shared Henry's story with new employees. It was their way of honoring the man who had not only changed their lives, but also showed them the true meaning of humility and redemption. In the end, Henry's legacy wasn't about the cars he sold or the profits he made. It was about the lives he touched and the lesson he left behind. Never judge a person by their appearance. True worth is found in the heart. That's the story, friends. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a pleasure sharing it with you all. Don't forget to comment below and let me know where you're watching from. It's always fun to see the global reach of these stories. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button for more amazing stories, tips, and tricks. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.